So we're continuing on with Jack Kirby's Fourth World, and this is part 2 of Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, number 142. Suddenly, with an explosion of snarls and guttural roars, savage fury is unleashed upon Jimmy and Clark. Suffering catfish, a werewolf, right out of a horror flick. Jimmy, run! That thing'll kill Clark for sure if I don't act fast. This loose steel fence post will do as a weapon. Yarr! I don't know how much of a chance I stand with this thing, but I can't run and leave Clark to die. Here I come, you noisy bundle of mangy fur. Stand by to take a good shot at amidship. Vomp! Stay back, you matted masterwork of murderous malignancy. Come closer and you'll wind up with lumps as big as boulders. He doesn't scare. I'm in trouble. The werewolf springs and jolts, the steel bar from Jimmy's hand. In a last desperate attempt to lure the thing away from Clark, Jimmy strikes hard. Whomp! That did it. Now he's after me. The building looks big enough. Maybe I can lose him. Roar! And outside the building, Clark Kent has got to bow out of this scene. It's time I took over. It took plenty of guts for Jimmy to put himself on the line like that. As for Jimmy Olsen, he's experiencing the kind of little-known but highly intense fear that grips a man in collision with the reality of sheer horror. It's gaining on me. I've got to make that staircase. Roar! Good Lord, it cut me off. There's no place to run. This is it. I'm going to die, and there's no escape. Roar! Suddenly, as the werewolf leaps, this calls for a tougher hide than yours, friend. Zomp. You're going to need rabies shots before you do any more nipping. Superman, I'm your fan for life. And why not? Many of my innovations are rather spectacular. Ye gods, you've got the big bad wolf spinning like a propeller. He'll have sea legs for a year. Then a somber, menacing voice echoes in the dim emptiness. Enough. If time was not so short, you would find this somewhat less than amusing. Once more the evil eyes blaze, once more the power lashes out. Lupeck and I have business elsewhere. There is an almost unbearable flash of light, from which Superman and Jimmy recoil in unison. Zzz! The light fades quickly, and so do Count Dragoran and his companion Lupeck. Jimmy, am I mistaken, or have they vanished? How should I know? I'm in the same fix you're in. Right now, I can't see a thing. It looks like your supervision was caught off guard. Not really. My organic structure reacts instantaneously in such instances. By sending chemicals through my body to act as a shield against intense light, I was able to see something just before Dragoran and Lupeck were gone. You probably saw them bow out in a puff of smoke. Clark Kent was also a witness to it. Yes, but suppose our weirdies didn't vanish. Suppose they became smaller. Too small to see. Oh my gosh, why am I following you? I've got to check on Clark. When I left him, he was like this security guard, badly clobbered, but merely dazed. Dragoran and Lupeck were really busy here. Clark has driven to the next town to bring back medical help. I figured it might be badly needed. It's a shaky story, but I hid the car, and Jimmy certainly won't find Clark. And you, Superman, what's your stake in all this? Why are you here? Anything that involves the safety of man involves me. The underground RNA project through a closely kept secret was no secret to me. And now this, the laboratory office of Dabney Donovan. Who is he? Why is Dragoran after him? Dabney Donovan is the closest thing to a mad scientist that we have. Well, I guess wild would be a better word. He's got something Dragoran wants, only it's hard to tell if Dragoran found it. I'd say negative, because Dabney hid things where they couldn't be noticed, right in front of your nose. It's Dabney's way, thumbing everyone else's nose at the world. I think the clue to this is Dragoran himself, and where he comes from, Transylvania. An X-ray vision sweep reveals nothing. Like other searches, I'm doing something wrong. I'm thinking wrong. Say, you don't think Transylvania is a planet, do you? Like this kooky one? This picture is the only object left untouched in the room. It could be because it's a normal sight to Dragoran. Score another one for Jimmy. It's the photograph. Superman now employs microvision. The photograph enlarges to his gaze until the very grains of its composition become large dots, which display an ominous message. Bloodmore, destruct date 1971. So that's what Dragoran is after. The destruct date of Bloodmore. The year that Bloodmore will be destroyed. Bloodmore. Now that name is a familiar one. Why, it's a cemetery. That's right, an old cemetery that dates back to colonial times. Yes, old and little used, except by Count Dragoran. At that very moment below Metropolis. Hey, the wall's opening. Flippadipus found us an exit. He sure knows his stuff. This is all the water there is, fellas. My job's done. This shaft leads upward. It bears examination. See if it opens in some way, big whites. I found a button which says it does. There's lots more in here. Then it's simple. Find an up button. Zoom! When the elevator reaches its highest level, it jolts to a stop. What a ride. I'm surprised I'm still intact. Let's find out how close Metropolis is, Gabby. We've reached the top, but the top is still not near Metropolis. Tommy climbs the metal ladder until his hand touches and moves a vent cover. Then he cautiously, quietly lifts his head and stares into a bunker-type room. You heard me. I said I'm staying here. This is a lousy hole, but a real safe hideout. How about that? We've come up smack into gangland. Yeah, I know. The heat's off me 'cause you saw the Guardian, and that means Jim Harper is alive. Well, you couldn't have seen the Guardian because Harper was the Guardian, and I'm telling you once more, I shot and killed Jim Harper. They don't look happy. The drama of life begins to mount in many quarters, but here the most startling event will happen. The most startling event will happen here at Bloodmore. I see it, Superman. It's a pretty eerie place at night. A fit setting for Count Dragoran. He and his Wolfman pal, will be here. They traveled here. Why not? All they have to do is change into bats and fly. After all, we're flying too. But they must do it by some device, too small to see. They can reduce in size to use it. Ah, there they are. Let's follow them. I believe the bat bit is merely part of their act, a sort of identity symbol. I wish we'd waited for Clark. He'd get facts, not opinions. Jeez. It'll have to do for now. We're right on top of the secret that produced creatures like Count Dragoran and Lupeck. Those two must have ducked into the mausoleum, and if I know my vampire movies, this is where the Count's coffin is buried, eh? Well, why don't we see, chum? Gosh, there's not even a door, just a big slab that would take 40 men to move. Yes, ordinarily impossible to enter, unless you were small, very, very, very small. There you go again, with your hang-up on smallness. That's the secret. Think small, like Dabney Donovan, who undertook to simulate cosmic matter in small terms, small continents, oceans, life. In short, a small planet. Welcome to Transylvania, Jimmy. Wow, isn't this the greatest? But it's only the opening wedge to ghoulish occurrences almost beyond description. Wait till you see the genocide spray. Strange stories of the DNA Project. Harry's secrets revealed. The Mountain of Judgment, home for the Step-Ups or Harrys, is a converted giant missile carrier. Actual size is seen in comparison to a car. Industrious children of the project, the Harrys were given this great truck, once used by NASA, to move giant moon rockets into position. Enlarged by the Harrys, the truck has a sound room where experiments produce the weird tapes for the vehicle's sound system. The prop room produces lifelike replicas of natural objects used in camouflaging the zoom way from intruders. Complex cameras are constantly being developed to project new and fearsome images to facilitate the security of this young new society. Even hardened members of the Outsiders have reacted to the weird effects of the Harry sound system. If the inhabitants of this wild area were to move some of the giant boulders that discourage them, they would discover it's an easy task and could look into Zoomway. To nail down the myth built around the Harrys are the images they computed to do their job. Jude, the elected leader of the Harrys, then relays the secret route to his drivers, as he always does. Take Road 4, head north, intrusion cleared. Then the Mountain of Judgment moves, going faster on engines, on jets, on new devices the Harrys have not yet talked about. The end. And next up is going to be another issue of Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen.